Welcome to Western Synergy, a podcast about innovators, entrepreneurs, and just generally awesome people in Western Canada. My name's Nathan Johnson, and I'm joined by Luke Bramfield. Today we're going to be talking about coming up in the technology sector. Now, as far as I understand, you're completed your degree?
Yeah, that's correct. I have 2 degrees. I did a finance degree here at the University of Lethbridge. Started back in 2016, and then I just went back to school last September for a master's in data science from the University of Calgary.
And that's now complete.
The course component was completed in May, and then now I'm doing my internship. It's kind of like a co-op. They basically tacked a co-op on at the end of the internship saying you need to go get this experience, and then we will award you your degree.
Oh, nice. And are you done with the experience now too?
The experience has been extended.
Oh, okay.
So I just completed 4 months.
Yeah.
And I have another 4 months till at least December.
Is that because they liked what you did, or it's just a requirement that you need to get more time in?
No, yeah. They really liked me.
Yeah.
Working on a couple projects with them, and they wanted to keep me around. So they were able to kind of at the 11th hour find me with the same team, another internship for the same duration through the same program.
I think you said you were in Toronto?
That's correct.
Do you have to go back out to Toronto to do that?
Yeah, I'm currently in Toronto. I've been there since May.
Okay.
So I actually just flew home last week here to just visit friends and family who I haven't seen in a while.
Nice. So this podcast, obviously being Western Synergy, you're happy to be back in the west side of Canada.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from here.
Yeah.
Right. I'm Albertan, born and raised, and proud to be so. And have moved out east, and to try and build my career. But definitely my roots are here, and yeah, I'm missing home.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind coming back and finding an opportunity in this sector that I want to be in.
Specifically like data science, or do you just want to be in the tech sector?
I could see it going different ways, but I definitely think that I'm particularly intrigued by that
Is there a specific niche in data science you're interested? Because these fields, I remember back maybe 5-10 years ago, data science was a really niche field, but now it's talking about the Atlantic Ocean, because there's quite a lot to it. Is there something you really like doing in there?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think they say data science has been around for 60 years, but the term just got introduced 5 years ago.
For sure. Yeah.
That's part of my challenge and where I'm at right now, Nathan. I'm still trying to uncover because basically I've tried a whole bunch of things up to this point. Now I've tried this, and I know that this is what I want to do.
Oh, nice.
I foresee myself doing this for the next 5 to 10 years easy. Before maybe moving on to some other kind of role, maybe in management, or who knows what the future will bring, right? But it's a very vast field, as you just said.
Yeah. It really is. And so a question, just curiosity for myself. So is it Python, Julia, R?
Yeah. So I mostly work with Python,
okay.
Jupyter Lab, and then we're building some dashboards, doing a lot of stuff in Power BI too. I have used R in the past. That's actually the very first programming language I would say I really gave a shot. Kind of got me excited about programming. But yeah, so we're doing that. But yeah, for data science, so I don't know, exactly what avenue. I'm thinking probably the AI route.
Okay. AI is also a really big category. And so to kind of cover for our audience, the description of artificial intelligence is that artificial intelligence isn't a super brand new subject. It's been around for quite a while. And going back to the first days when we had conditional logic, you could consider it intelligent because it was if this, then that. But kind of climbing up from there as you go from conditional logic to algorithmic logic, where you're combining conditional logic with mathematical equations to kind of come up with a more accurate decision. And then the next kind of step from that is generally into machine learning, where you reinforce a learning model with a whole bunch of data. And then after that, you can go into more of the generative and neural intelligence part of it. And that's where you're training something with a, million to the millionth power of if conditional statements to learn something from a generative perspective with weights and a whole bunch of other complexities. Is there a specific category in the artificial intelligence sector that you're more interested in, from algorithmic to conditional logic to say generative, the newer stuff that's all the rage?
Yeah, I think my interest is where all the rage is.
Yeah.
I've been using generative AI for probably over a year now, every day.
Nice.
Right. I think it's an incredibly powerful tool. We already see it reshaping, I think, how we work and I don't know if it's at that point yet, but probably will reshape entire industries.
There's definitely some stuff that's going to change. Have you found from using AI being newer to the technology sector, you're part of a generation, which is the newest generation coming in. Do you think that everyone sort of needs to be embracing AI, or is there kind of stuff that allows you to, skirt by, or is it, what's your opinion on it? Is it a must do, or is it something people can sort of wait a little bit on?
In what context?
Really,
me using it for my own productivity in a professional setting? Are you talking about businesses adopting it?
I would say probably the personal one. So if someone else was going to kind of come into the technology sector, would you say if you were giving recommendation to a clone of yourself?
I think there's some trade-offs. I think you would be doing yourself a huge disservice if you didn't tap into it. I think it can really enhance your productivity.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can overuse it, and it can be dangerous in that sense too. So, to be honest, I've written, most of my code has been altered, somewhat generated, or written by AI.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in the early days, I think I was definitely over too much emphasis on getting that tool to basically code what I want without me understanding the kind of fundamentals of what I was doing.
Yeah.
And this is a big debate in this space. My Quora algorithm is synced up to receive emails about this topic. So some people say, and I'm curious your opinion, some people say you're having way too many of these, kind of what I'm describing myself, these people that can code things, but only do it with LLMs. They really don't understand the underlying, how to write good code, how to write efficient code. And if they were ever to really, put something into production, it would just break and be terrible.
Yeah.
And they're kind of against it. And you have another side that's coding is going to be obsolete.
It is a hot charged topic, but I think people forget that we all started in without these technologies being available in the first place. And, all of us were breaking production code anyways. So anyone that I meet that's a professional now that was I learned by the book, never broke production, I don't think they ever took any risks then if that was the case. Mm-hmm. And to me, the large language models are a faster, tireless teacher that you can ask it the same question over and over and over and sort of badger it and use it. And I think the danger in it is that the actual problem with AI is that it's overconfident. So the problem is every answer starts with absolutely or sure or I can absolutely do that. But in all honesty, once you pass the basics of programming, I would say that in my experience doing I write artificial intelligence framework libraries, and I do reference it all the time for Python stuff that I just don't remember. So I'll just be I don't remember how to compare two sets together and create an output. So I'll type it into whichever large language model is handy, And the problem that I run into is that I would say probably 4 out of 5 times it's gotten it wrong. But it's not something you would ever catch. And it's not that it also wouldn't run. It's just that it would cause problems if you didn't catch it. So the thing is that I find it an excellent point of reference that for people to go in and say, like yourself, I'm going to learn to code. Okay, here is the book on Python, and this book can talk. And it's good, but it's going to screw stuff up. So the idea is that as you're going, you do need the conventional education with it. So I think a lot of people, when they say, like, don't learn to code or watch AI, is that it's a black and white term. So you're saying, like, don't just use AI. If I met someone who is just, like, prompting all the code into production, that's just dangerous and a bad kind of like way of running things. It's sort of like, it's sort of like a knife. Like, knives are really useful for making food, but you can also,
abuse it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's and I like your example of like, you do learn how to use it. Like, you start to learn how to kind of like work around it. You get like a hallucination, sixth sense. Like, you're like, yeah, you don't understand what I'm asking you right now. Or you, like, once you start to learn a little more, you made that up, right?
Yep.
And then you kind of reprompt it or change your prompt or whatever. But yeah, you learn how to navigate it and become more effective with it. So back to your original question, I think we're already here. It's already incredibly powerful, and it's only going to continue to become more powerful. I think if you're not going to really learn how to use it effectively, you might be left in the dust.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think it's effectively changed the way we educate ourselves. And that's the part that I would say personally that I'm enjoying the most at coming out of it. The other really big part for me is that I think AI currently right now with LLMs, that superpower is assumptions. So one of the things that most people live by is that we don't get up, pull our phone up, go to the weather channel, get the exact temperature, then determine what clothes we're going to put on. Generally, we'll like peek out the window and then go get dressed. And so the idea is that most of us can survive off that. If we see snow on the ground, we know to grab boots and a jacket. If it's like sunny outside and there's birds flying, maybe we'll grab a Frisbee and a picnic basket. And we didn't need anything great to tell us that. And we're able to live with it because those are safe assumptions. If you accidentally walk outside and it isn't that warm, well, you can come back in and get changed, or you just tough it out. And so one of the things that LLMs can do is you can ask them to make assumptions. And the reason that's significant is you're in data science. If you had to algorithmically write an assumption with a computer, that's an incredibly challenging thing to do from a programming standpoint. And so that is one of the really big superpowers that I think is really amazing about an LLM is it's actually allowing computers to make assumptions. And of course, we grew up learning that assumptions are dangerous, but safe assumptions are perfectly fine. Like, I think all of us know that if you are seasoning a chicken, salt and pepper is safe. It's an assumption. We don't know the exact science behind it, but a lot of people just go on those assumptions. But if you wanted to know exactly how to make the best chicken, you're probably going to go look up a recipe and follow the instructions and maybe watch a YouTube video and follow through all those things. And that's where I view AI, is that it has to be a combination of both. So
exactly. It's not going to produce stellar work on its own. Like, it's not even close. It's still pretty narrow, right? So
yeah. So a question I actually have for you, kind of backing up a little bit, was I've heard your story a fair amount, actually. So my business partner, Wes, you, even the gentleman that's filming all of this have all kind of gone through this process where it's like, I'm coming up, I'm finishing school. I want to do something, so I go and get an education, and I kind of go into that sector and try it out, and it ends up, I'll say, quote unquote, not for me. There might be more for that. But kind of like, what was the thinking of driving you towards the tech sector specifically?
Yeah, so my story, I'll go even further. I'll give you the long version.
Nice.
It can be edited, if need be.
Yeah, I was born on
April 5th.
Okay.
But no, like, post high school, I was not a good student. I played basketball. That's what I did for the first 18 years of my life, and that was it. And then post-graduation, I had zero desire to go to school. ended up doing a job that was, labor job, tough work, long hours, and said, I'm going back to school within 6 months. And then so same thing. I was like undeclared major. I tried all these different courses, took a management course, gave this big business presentation, absolutely loved it. Loved the feeling of coming up with an idea and then walking into a room and pitching it and trying to persuade everyone that that was a good idea. So I said, I'm going to do business. Then you have to choose a major. So I tried all these different business courses. I found I really liked finance. I started to develop an interest in finance and the stock market. I wanted to do your typical finance bro, like investment banking route at one point in time. Probably just driven a lot by the title,
Not the nice cars, the golf.
the nice cars, the money, and just I'm an IB. I'm the best and I'm the smartest.
I saw The Wolf on Wall Street. It looked very fun.
It does, right? So that was kind of the vision that I was developing for myself throughout my undergrad. Graduated with finance. I didn't have a single lead coming out of uni. Graduated with my finance degree. Didn't have a single lead coming out of university. But I wanted these kind of jobs. But I had no experience, no internships, nothing, not a single network. So to be frank, I got kind of like desperate because it had been 6 months had went by. And it just came to the point where I was like, I have to make a change. And if I have to take a step back and do something that I really is not exciting, that's what I might have to do. So I walked into all the banks in Red Deer, walked into like 6 different banks, asked for the manager, introduced myself, and said, hey, I'm just out of uni. Here's my resume. I'm very interested in banking. I want to get started. And they hired me on as a teller.
Nice. Gotta start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere. But the interest was always, again, the IB. Like I was interested in money management, like investing. So that was the vision. Of like, okay, let's just get the foot in the door in the bank and try and get into that stream. So did that, was a teller for 7 months. They were supposed to put me in an advising training program, but COVID had a hiring freeze. So I left the company because I had another opportunity to go work for an accounting firm, which is a completely different story. But anyway, after leaving, I walked back into that same branch that I used to with the same vision. I want to be an analyst. I want to invest. I want to be a finance bro. And my manager offered me that advisor job, like pretty much on the spot. And I told her, like when you don't have a job and someone's offering you a decent job and you don't have a lot of experience yet, like I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
But she said, look, it'll get your foot in the door. Just get started. And we'll hire you with the assumption that we know that in a year's time, year and a half time, we know you have other aspirations, but we think you're good stuff and we want to keep you in the bank. So then I did that for it was just under 2 years. To your point, that's not for me experience. It was a good experience. I mean, really, it put me out of when we talk about comfort zone, I was very out of my comfort zone for like a long time, or at least a few months. And then, I just still had this itch. Like, I realized I didn't want to do like client relations, not to that level, like not to, I'm your advisor, I'm your guy, you can call me, solve this problem for me. I had no interest or passion for that. I like people, don't get me wrong, but that wasn't what I wanted to do. I just craved this like more analytical type work that I had never done. So that's when I stumbled across the term data science. And then I was like, researching that. And I just made the decision one day. Like You know, it was shortly after we had a phone discussion that one time. I don't remember if you remember that discussion, but very shortly after that,
I was thinking it was on my deck. Actually, I remember that. Yeah, I do remember that conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was in a tough place. I wasn't happy. And I came across that program and I left the bank. I went and actually worked the oil field for the summer. And then I did the program. But going back a little bit, what I realized, because I had studied my CFA at one point in time as well, and we were covering all these financial concepts, but I recognized like all these things require like some pretty good technical skills in like data that I don't have. Like if I were to go try and implement this financial concept, I wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't know where to source the data, how to manipulate the data, how to do any of this. So I kind of went back to school for that as well. Like, okay, I'm going to go get some technical skills. And then when I try and become that analyst or that quant or whatever, I should have the skills and a little bit of the finance background to get me into that stream.
Yeah.
So those were the drivers. Like it was kind of almost there.
Okay. Do you still have a desire for the client portion?
I think so, but in a different set of different demographic.
Okay.
Different client demographic. Probably similar to what you're doing in your business, you know.
Okay.
People with their own business trying to optimize, scale, expand, grow. Even if I were to go back to the different client segment, right?
Yeah.
I guess business people, maybe finance people, data people.
Yeah.
Not just kind of like everyday public.
So when it comes to the technology stack, you know, the first layer is going to be those guys working in the underlying systems to help improve the actual underlying part that runs on like the GPUs, CPUs, and produces all that information and runs the generative pre-trained transformers at the time that we're using. And then you guys have the people that are working in that second layer, which is going to be more of the guys that are ingesting data, processing it, and outputting it back and forth between the software applications. And the third layer to me is going to be all the people that are building apps. So if someone's building like, you know, the next social media platform, then that would be on that third layer. And so as you're saying you want to get into Learn It, you want to kind of pick one of those layers that you would like to work in because they're going to be very complex in their own right. One of the best analogies that I've run into, and I don't know if this was me that came up with this or someone else did, so I'm not going to take credit for it, but artificial intelligence, the big LLMs, or just even the big generative pre-trained transformer systems are like databases. If you go to a company and you just give it a database, they would be like, you know, that's great. I can record infinite rows and tables and do all these things. But they're like, I'm not going to know how to use this. So you wrap it up in a big piece of software. So like, you know, QuickBooks Online or just any accounting software, point of sale, ERP, all those different things. That's what makes a database useful. So I think the next big thing happening is that when you give a company AI, they look at it and go, oh, that's really cool, but everything's manual. So that next part is building that, like that layer 2 and 3 on top of the AI to make it, you know, much better and easier to learn. So if you had to kind of, based on my description, which layer would you like to work in?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's so one, you're saying the lower level.
Yeah.
Like we're talking like GPU, CPU,
yeah.
optimization, I assume the training.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. I think probably some of the smartest minds in the world are working on that.
Yeah.
So I have to think how I measure up, but second level, you're saying it's kind of the in-between. You said like ingesting data.
Yeah.
And like,
it's going to be a lot of the data solutions, like sort of handling data transformation, working with the generative pre-trained models to change the data into things that are more useful, make decisions and things like that. And also to be clear, all three layers will have their complexity, both low and high. So yeah.
But layer 2, are you saying that's like, so your description, like that's like analytics?
Yeah, probably more along the analytics and the processing of it.
And the processing?
Yeah.
Like an ML ops type thing?
Yeah, and then layer 3 is more of the display and output and, you know, the thing people are going to use, right? Which is ultra important.
I think it would be the third.
Oh, nice.
Potentially the second.
Yeah.
But what's exciting is like solving a real problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what would get me excited. So I probably see myself on layer 3.
Nice. Yeah, it's really good. And the big thing too is that those layers would be connected together. So like you wouldn't really do work in layer 3 without being connected to layer 2, and layer 2 wouldn't really do work without being connected to layer 3 and 1, right? And then 1 would be connected to 2. So the thing is that they're interchangeable. And this is just my analogy for kind of looking at what I personally see as artificial intelligence right now. There's so much more complexity and stuff in there that like even is beyond me, that this is just kind of a good way to break down where someone that says they want to go into AI can take a look at it and say like, okay, where do I want to focus? So then I guess the question I would have for you on that is that in that third layer, are you looking to work in like a large system that say huge amounts of data and information, or would you want to look more of the user side where you're dealing with, people maybe using their phones or lots of little endpoints and stuff like that? Like, are you...
Yeah, I don't know if I have enough exposure to either of those things. My current project, I would say, is more on it's a very small scale. I mean, scale is nice.
Yeah, no,
if it could be bigger.
It's definitely raises different challenges and stuff too. So a question I'd have for you now is that in your adventure so far, and after kind of going through this interview, when you finish your hours, your next set of hours, what is your plan? Like, do you have a plan or something like that you'd like to do, or somewhere you're heading in a direction that you'd like to apply for, a job you're interested in?
I definitely don't have a well-refined plan. I'm in the process of basically just engaging with as many people as I can in my current company, doing technology and AI across many different business functions. So I work on a data analytics team. It's a fairly large team. And we actually have like an entire team dedicated to AI applications.
Oh, wow.
So definitely, and all the different use cases that they're trying to develop for different operations of the bank. So definitely we'll be rubbing shoulders and having conversations with them, seeing what kind of projects that they're working on and if I can get involved. I'm also reaching out to, as I said, other business functions, the finance side, anyone, like honestly, anyone doing data analytics or AI. I mean, just data analytics is cool too, by the way. You don't have to do AI. But I see the opportunity there. So yeah, that's it. It's just striking up conversations and trying to make a good impression upon someone, and also be really intrigued with what they're working on. Going in-house first, because it's sure easy, I have to say.
Yeah.
Like, I just messaged someone on Teams and I think I have almost 100% hit rate of them messaging me back and being able to have a conversation. So
yeah,
I guess that's a nice thing about the current company I work for. Pretty supportive people, but it doesn't have to just be in the bank either. I'm willing to branch out to other industries or other opportunities. Sometimes I message people off LinkedIn, working on like AI LLM projects too. So
okay,
I'm more in the discovery phase.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good place to be. So after going on this journey, is there anything that like you've learned along the way that you think was kind of your most critical, or learned along the way that is maybe like the most impactful thing or impactful decision you made that kind of got you here?
Where does the journey, what's the origin point of the journey?
Well, it can really be like anything, right? Like as you went and it sounds like you had that pivotal moment where you were sitting inside of the bank trying to decide if you wanted to go back into like, or find something else to do, right? Like go into the tech or take that course. So it was more like a general question about, giving advice to someone else that's thinking about getting into the sector or the data science sector, what would you suggest to them, or how would you approach it if you had to do it again?
Tough question for me because I'm so new, right? I'm so fresh that like I don't have a lot of tech knowledge, I wouldn't have done anything differently. I guess more general advice, as you're saying, is like life, in my opinion, is just too short to not go after what you really want.
That's fantastic advice.
As far as we know, it's very general and we all know that, we all hear that, but really, like, as far as we know, we only have, one lifetime on this earth. So life's too short to not just give it all you got, man. Just go for it.
Well, thanks for coming on to Western Synergy. I appreciate all your feedback and everything. And again, this has been an awesome podcast where we talk to another awesome person. And hopefully you'll join me next time talking to some more innovators and entrepreneurs in Western Canada.